The eclipse is not just fascinating to watch, it's also a unique opportunity for research that has drawn scientists from around the world, including Larisa Goncharenko from MIT's Haystack Observatory, who's part of a team studying what happens in the upper atmosphere during solar eclipses. Thank you so much for joining us.
This is my pleasure.
So what is the impact of an eclipse on the upper atmosphere, and what are you trying to learn?
There are a lot of differences in impact of eclipse on the upper atmosphere compared to on the ground that most people experience. We study upper atmosphere from about 70 kilometers to and up to maybe about 1,000 kilometers in altitude. And upper atmosphere over there is very thin in density. And big part of it is what's called ionosphere, plasma portion. And plasma portion of our upper atmosphere, ionosphere, is created by solar ultraviolet radiation. Immediate thing that happens during solar eclipse, when we turn sun off, we turn radiation off. And electron density sharply decreases. But in addition to that, it's not just decrease in density, there is also decrease in temperatures, just like what people experience on the ground who are watching eclipse. And this decrease in temperature can be really quite high. There are also variations because of changes in pressure. There are also variations in wind system. And we try to observe all these parameters so that we understand how upper atmosphere varies, how it responds to the eclipse, and after that, how it recovers. And we have this when moon shadow passes over the continental United States, we have this decrease in electron density that trails the eclipse itself, like in this moon shadow, and it can be really quite large. So we have some experience from previous eclipses. We are really looking forward to see what happens during this eclipse, and we put on all kinds of instrumentation that we have. Some of them well-tested, really well-known ground-based observations. Some of them absolutely new that our brilliant engineers designed and constructed really just in time for the eclipse.
So are there practical implications to better understanding what's going on in the upper atmosphere, or is it really just more about better understanding our world?
Oh, absolutely. There are really important practical applications. In particular, ionosphere is very important for HF, radio signal propagation, and that makes it important for aviation, for navigation, for precise positioning. So this is one aspect. But in general, understanding what happens in the upper atmosphere really helps us to understand near Earth space and how we can use it and use in a sustainable way for our modern technology, for our modern world, so we can provide real scientific foundation for sustainable use of near Earth space. And so this is our larger goal.
This is the range of space that the International Space Station is in, right?
Absolutely. Right in the middle of that. And we can, with our observations, with our techniques, we can see even at higher altitudes, but it really covers a range of altitudes where we have low Earth orbiting satellites.
And this is the first time, I think, that you're using 4 different methods to try to capture this data, right? How did it go? Do you know yet how successful today's research and data collection was?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have real-time data links, and we keep watching. We keep watching all this in real time. So one of the systems is we have a very large radar that uses 2 antennas, one of them 220 feet in diameter. And another antenna is, this antenna looks way vertically up, and we have another antenna 150 feet in diameter, and that one is steerable, so it can move. And with this antenna, when we move it, we actually see, we can observe what happens in the near Earth space all the way down to Rocky Mountains, all the way down to Florida. And this is what we did for this eclipse. We combined vertical looking antenna with the steerable antenna, so we can actually see large portion of continental United States and what happens in during the eclipse, and how perturbations, how upper atmosphere recovers from this perturbation.
And isn't there a citizen science element to this, where you have antennas around the country, right?
We have citizen science aspect in somewhat different ways. We have so the technique that I just told you, it's just one technique, but we have 4 of them. And we use combination because each technique gives us a very different type of observation. And we use combination of all 4 to obtain most comprehensive information. And for like another technique where we really use citizen scientists are GNSS receivers. We have receivers, like completely new receivers with very high resolution. We put them in a path of totality, and some of them in backyards, some of them at institutions. They are used to train students at this point with real-time data links. So this is one element, but there is another element where we have completely new HF radar systems that use very low power transmitters and very small antennas. This is new technology. We used to have this type of radar where antenna would be the size of a football field. And now our brilliant engineers developed system where antenna is maybe the size of the refrigerator. And we field them in different areas, including this is one of the elements of citizen science. We can put it in the backyard. I have one right now in my own backyard.
You do? That's great.
Collecting data on all these paths between different transmitters and different receivers, and that gives us multiple paths link between each receiver and each transmitter, and that provides unique imaging of what happens in the ionosphere. This is something that we never had before.
So what was the experience like for you today? I mean, you're collecting all of this data, you're hard at work making sure that everything goes right. Was there any time for the awe of the experience of a total eclipse?
Absolutely. We try to make time for that as well, in between checking on our data links and looking if everything, all instrument worked correctly. But absolutely, we had a party in the observatory with eclipse watching party with of course when people went outside and looked at our close to totality obscuration. We had close to 95%, 94%, which is really still really quite high.
That's great. What is it about eclipses that captures our imagination like this?
This is absolutely unique type of experience. In our science, it's really difficult to come to conclusion what exactly caused some perturbation, and near Earth space is really highly variable. And in this kind of experiment, so this is very special case for us when we know for sure when exactly solar EUV turned off. This is controlled type of experiment. We do not have many opportunities like this. Next one will be 20 years from now.
Well, Larisa Goncharenko, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.